Some people would rather quit or look for a new job instead of working in person. And this was somewhat of a contributing factor to my decision to leave after nearly 10 years of working a somewhat corporate America job that was ultimately making someone else richer and continuously sucking the life out of me and further distancing myself from what mattered most to me, which was my life and the availability of time to spend with my family. Not to mention earning more money with fewer hands being held out in between. Granted, I did take this plunge nearly 6 years ago and have been self employed ever since. But now, the whole return to office craze is really making a lot of people think long and hard about what's most important to them and whether or not they'll go back and fall in line once again to be locked away in their tiny little box, their cage or cubicle, never to emerge free again. Or, or they do something that they have thought to themselves that they should have done a long time ago. One worker in particular who stepped up and decided to leave their job because her employer told her to come in 5 days a week. And she said that I just got to the point where it just wasn't working for me. And I walked away from over $100,000 per year in salary to seek positions that have hybrid options so that I can have the work-life balance. And she is not the only one prioritizing flexibility. Meanwhile, Fortune reports that the whole quiet quitting trend of 2022, which frustrated employees and employers for watching the employees not underperform, but no longer overperform, has now transitioned to loud quitting. And the resignation trend is even worse for business leaders. You've probably heard of quiet quitting, the trend that saw employees doing the bare minimum of work and silently checking out of jobs that they didn't enjoy but financially needed. And again, quiet quitting isn't necessarily taking advantage of the employer. It's really only doing the job that you were hired and being paid to do. Now, employees are doing the complete opposite and loud quitting. And as the name suggests, workers are actively disengaged while on the job and not afraid to show it because honestly, they are frustrated. They are upset. They are stressed. They are panicking in some instances. And unlike quiet quitters, loud quitters are acting out their unhappiness on their way out the door. At some point along the way, the trust between the employee and the employer was severely broken. I've talked about this before, and it boils down to poor management. And that leads to lost customers and lost profit, but it also leads to miserable lives. Having a job that you hate is worse than being unemployed to most. But again, this is by design. This is the plan. This is their strategy because ultimately they have realized that throughout the course of the pandemic, the employee had gained too much power, too much control. The employee had the upper hand, and they want to reset that and regain control and regain their power and ultimately reduce how much their outflows are, how much they're paying, and increase their profit. If they can't drive up revenue, they can at least drive down costs, which would ultimately increase their bottom line, their net income. So leaders, if you want to retain top employees, top talent, it's important. And if you consider yourself to be that top talent and you're not getting what you need, please pay attention because the leaders should help their workers find purpose in their work, feel proud of the work that they do, and take ownership of their performance by discussing their goals and priorities. This shouldn't just be a one-sided deal where the employer is the only one winning. The employer is the only one getting what they want, and the employee gets a paycheck every Friday or every 2 weeks or however often the pay period is. There should be more to it for a meaningful and satisfied experience in life, which oftentimes the employee ends up giving a large portion of their life to other employers. Business Insider states that, or at least shares, that there are plenty of income earning opportunities out there that don't require coming into the office or loathing the work that you do. This one kid, he's not a kid anymore, but when he started doing it, he was 17 years old, and he was scrubbing toilets at In-N-Out Burger and needed to turn his life around. Now he makes $17,000 a month as a self-taught copywriter. He started out in fast food, but is now a copywriter and direct response marketer. After consuming marketing and copywriting material, he sent businesses letters and landed clients. Now he makes up to $17,000 a month in profit and brings in six figures monthly for his clients. He started copywriting at the library. He didn't have a computer. He didn't have all the technology. And if you guys want to hear the full story and find out how you can do the same, then drop a comment down below so that I know you all are interested. And there are free links in the description too for people looking for ways to make money online and work from home with simple and easy social media jobs and no skill required. Side note, copywriting and YouTube go hand in hand, and there are almost limitless possibilities on how you can use copywriting as a way to generate substantial income, pretty much remotely from anywhere. Now, let's talk about the warning signs, because the warning signs are clear. More owners of distressed office properties are simply choosing to walk away. But then we have to ask, what good are these large, expensive, high-rise office buildings if there aren't any workers to fill them? Office owners, small and large, facing loans that they can't pay or refinance, increasingly have chosen to give the keys back to their lenders. The resulting losses eventually impact the $1 trillion U.S. market for commercial mortgage-backed securities, CMBS. Real estate investment giant Blackstone, the world's biggest commercial landlord, has bailed on numerous office properties. The downturn in the market for commercial office space has caused an increasing number of distressed property owners to make the decision to simply walk away from mortgages that they either can't pay now or can't afford after they refinance after starkly higher interest rates. And these are the intended side effects that Jerome Powell spoke about last year while addressing his intentions for raising interest rates to fight inflation and ultimately in the process destroying families and businesses. Do you remember when we talked about that? Well, we are witnessing the results today. And it's not just the employees in these office buildings, because typically these office buildings also have smaller businesses within them, maybe coffee shops and bistros. They have cleaning crews. They have, all sorts of other businesses and other people's income and livelihood tied to them. And if they if they walk away from these office buildings and basically default on their loans and become essentially evicted or foreclosed on, those businesses have nowhere to operate, nor do they have anyone any customer base, because there's no one there. So this is a domino effect. This is what Biden would probably call the trickle down effect. But Blackstone is bailing, okay? Surging interest rates have made refinancing those loans on losing propositions for office property owners. And this year alone, the Mortgage Bankers Association estimates that $92 billion in non-bank office debt will mature. Borrowers will either need to refinance the debt or default on it or sell the underlying property. So you got to think about it. Refinance. Well, if you were to refinance any debt today, odds are your interest rate is going to be higher than it was previously. Odds are. And if you were to try to sell today, well, you're probably going to be selling at a much lower price than what you paid. And what is the interest of buyers? How many buyers are going to be super interested in picking up commercial office space property that there's no use for because people are working remotely, people are working from home, people are working hybrid? So naturally, I would expect to see a huge amount of default and a huge amount of vacancy. Now, Blackstone is the real estate investment giant that earlier this year raised over $30 billion for its latest fund, that's billion with a B, and has chosen to walk away more than once. But it's kind of funny how business works, right? The firm stopped making payments in March on both a $325 million loan for a Las Vegas office park that it owns and a Midtown Manhattan office tower it bought in 2014 for $605 million. In addition, the firm reportedly has considered walking away from a $274 million loan it took in 2017 to buy club quarters hotels in Chicago, San Francisco, Boston, and Philadelphia. And the simple fact of the matter is that they've done it once and they will do it again. But how can a business, one, be allowed to borrow hundreds of millions of dollars and then not repay it and then continue to operate and be extended more terms and more loans? Comment down below if you know the answer to that question. So, what is the solution overall? How do we prepare? Relocation and demographic changes are underway. Get ready for full survival mode, or at least some people have. And Cleveland has become an unlikely hotspot for millennials in search of affordability because Cleveland's millennial population rose 6% since 2020. Same for Tampa and Dallas. Reason being, affordability and good jobs are giving the Midwestern city a boost with the generation, according to Bank of America, and with income growth outpacing rent there, these 27 to 42-year-olds have more disposable income. Now, with that being said, we should realize that what is going to happen in Cleveland, and that is ultimately more of the same. Early adopters, first movers, those who get in soon will reap the benefits. But if the trend continues, Cleveland will not be known for affordability and, high income and great opportunity, because that ship will sail. But now it seems as though there may be an opportunity, there may be a possibility there for you to really get ahead, make hay, and, inch up to the next level. And this economic and financial survival mode is only going to continue to pick up steam because Americans are essentially getting poorer as expenses surge. And again, I would expect to see this in Cleveland as well. When you start having an influx of inbound traffic of people moving into an area, making money, having disposable income, well, then the businesses are going to push that envelope as far as they can to try to take as much away from you as possible with every transaction, every purchase, every sale. Higher prices, inflation. And then as one business does it, the other will do it, and it will be a fight to raise prices to the point of which they reach some sort of equilibrium where it just ends up being like pretty much any other city. However, for most of the country, Americans are getting poorer as expenses surge, and this is exactly what I talked about with you guys last year when I told you to get ready, stock up, and prepare. The financial hammer is dropping, and it's dropping down hard. And until you're able to pay your bills with or your utility companies, pay your rent to your landlord, pay your mortgage, your car note, child support, pay medical bills, until you can pay those with chickens and fruit and vegetables that you grew on the farm and the homestead land that also you don't have because it's so expensive, well, then you're going to need cash, and you're going to need lots of it and ways to produce more. Americans are getting poorer as expenses climb and savings dwindle. And this is according to a new survey from Lending Club Corporation, the parent company of Lending Club Bank. In May, just 2 months ago, the Fed released the economic well-being of U.S. households in 2022, the latest edition of an annual report commonly used in measurements of financial well-being. Since 2013, these annual reports have tracked consumers' stated ability to afford a theoretical $400 emergency expense, a number that seems extremely outdated in today's economic environment. Lending Club and Payments have examined this issue since 2022 and have found that the $400 benchmark does not accurately reflect today's consumer experience. In fact, 2/3 of the unexpected expenses consumers experience cost more than the benchmark of $400, with 41% spending double that amount or more. Furthermore, the average emergency expense was approximately $1,700, reflecting a year-over-year growth of 16%, which is more in line with what actual inflation really is in comparison to the CPI numbers that they put out and they want you to hear. Now, the big question will be, how can people start to plan to be better prepared for unexpected financial needs? Options include building an emergency fund and contributing to it regularly, minimizing your debt, lowering your debt, finding opportunities to enhance your savings, making more money, and looking to revise high costs like insurance coverages. And then once you have that money saved up, it'll be very important that you put it in a safe place. And it may not be inside of a bank like most people would think after hearing about how JP Morgan Chase refuses to reimburse a customer after an imposter walks into the bank with a fake ID and walks out with $30,000 out of their account. Now, this is a little bit unbelievable, really, because we all know, or at least we should all know, how difficult it has been here recently to go inside of a bank and make a large cash withdrawal. Let alone this person was able to extract $30,000. I've got my opinions on this, but I'll reserve those for later. Now, JP Morgan Chase is saying tough luck to a customer after the bank handed tens of thousands of dollars over to an imposter with a fake ID. This guy lost 30 grand after a man with a false identification and an incorrect social security number walked into a Chase branch and convinced the bank to hand the money over. Ouch. Now that's gotta hurt. And folks, it just continues to get better and better, but I don't want to keep you guys here all day. If you made it this far in the video, I want to say thank you very much and ask that you please hit the like button, subscribe, turn on your alerts and notifications because coming up next, we've got a currency crisis in Argentina that is so dire that it's allowing people to open bank accounts using the Chinese yuan, and a long abandoned factory to become affordable housing in Cleveland after over 40 years. Why did it take so long for this to happen? 40 years? Like, Are we looking at potentially seeing these abandoned office buildings being vacant for 40 years before somebody steps up to the plate and says, why don't we repurpose these properties for people who could actually really use them? Again, we'll talk about that on a future video. Plus, so much more. Don't forget to check us out on Patreon and watch our other channels. Links are in the description. They cover different topics as well as personal vlogs and other ways to make money. Comment down below, questions, comments, concerns. You guys take care. Be safe. I'll see you real soon.